Hi guys. A long time ago I made a Q&A video answering a lot of your guys' questions, and I got a lot of questions about like violin technique related things, and I decided to make a series of videos about them, except they've been really inconsistent. But I'm bringing them back. Today I'm going to be talking about tips on violin vibrato. I honestly, every time I give tips, I'm like nervous because I don't know if I'm in the place exactly to give tips to anyone or like teach anyone how to do techniques such as these, especially because a lot of techniques that are asked for are really advanced. But especially with vibrato. For me, I've incorporated vibrato into my playing, I want to say like about 3 to 4 years ago now. But it's still a constant struggle for me because learning vibrato is not the end. You have to learn how to vary your vibrato speed. You need to know how to like widen your vibrato or like narrow your vibrato, and then you have to be able to consistently use your vibrato on every single note that you play. So I think on those aspects I'm a little bit lacking, but for the essential part I think I have it down, so maybe I'll be able to give you a little bit of tips on what's been helping me currently or what's helped me in the past with my vibrato. I need to start like way in the beginning. Vibrato was not something I learned on my own. I got taught vibrato and it was a multiple month process. I want to say like half a year or something. So I don't know if it's okay to show this, but like I used this book. It's called Adventures in Violin Land and it's like Meet Vibi Vibrato. I use this book. So if you want to get better at your vibrato quality, you have to remember the foundation of how vibrato works. So the essential part of vibrato is moving your finger back and forth. So I would practice moving your finger back and forth in order to improve your vibrato. So what I do is I go really slowly at first, and then I speed it up. So it would go something like, I don't do this consistently, but I've heard that this following exercise really helps your quality of vibrato a lot. It works wonders. Well, I guess I don't have my metronome, which is not good. Oh my gosh, I'm like, what's wrong with? Oh, I found it. You want to set your metronome on a really low speed. That's fast. What about like 60? I'm gonna split it into eighth notes right now, so like. And then you go up. I'm gonna try 70. And then as you go up, or like as you get used to your tempo that you're in right now, what you want to do is like split the subdivide the beats in different ways. So like right now I just did eighth notes, then you could speed it up and maybe do triplets or 16th notes. And as you get faster, you learn that process of like varying your vibrato speed, but also you can experiment with different widths of the vibrato, if that makes sense. That's an exercise that I've learned throughout playing my violin. The rest of them aren't really like exercises, they're just more of tips. The first thing about vibrato is that you have to set your fingers free and you have to set your hand frame free, or else your left hand is going to be really tense, and that doesn't allow for very good vibrato. So you have to set your fingers really loose. You can't constrain your hand in any way. Like right here, if you see, there's no space right here, so you can't possibly move your hand frame that much. So you have to loosen your hand so that there's like a gap in between your fingers right there, if you can see. That allows you to move more freely when you're doing vibrato. When you're doing vibrato, make sure not to like move your finger up and down. You have to ground your finger in one place, and then you have to tilt it back and forth in order to not lose ground and not lose balance in your desired position. Another thing that I would suggest if you're a beginner in vibrato is to support your pinky finger when you're doing vibrato by putting down your third finger as well. So I know for a lot of people when they're starting, and like way after they started, they feel like their pinky finger vibrato is their weakest, and that applies to me too. So when I was beginning, to avoid from my pinky finger feeling too weak or like not being able to vibrato, my teacher taught me to put down your third finger and your fourth finger as well. Take the other fingers off, you don't need them, but vibrato with those two fingers, like. So you have more ground and you have more support from your other fingers. After time, it was like too hectic playing my pieces with my third finger as support, so now I don't vibrato like that anymore, but it did help a bunch in creating support for my pinky finger. So if your problem is like that you don't feel like you're able to incorporate vibrato into everyday pieces that you're playing, like your repertoire, such as concertos and like etudes and stuff like that. A lot of people usually don't put in vibrato when they're slowly practicing, or like practicing for intonation or practicing slowly. Any of those things, they only tend to like put in vibrato when they absolutely have to, when it's concert tempo and stuff like that. But you're never gonna want to play that concerto without vibrato, you know, on a stage, in a performance, at a competition. You don't want to play it without vibrato. You're never gonna want to do that, so why practice it without vibrato is my question. So if you want to improve your vibrato and incorporate it in every single piece that you play, I suggest that you incorporate it every single time you play, no matter how you're practicing it. If you're practicing it note by note, slowly, then still incorporate vibrato. I know it's like, at first you want to like practice your intonation and stuff, and vibrato gets in the way or something. Well, I mean, okay, I feel like this is an unpopular opinion. And my past teacher told me to practice intonation without vibrato, but personally I feel like you're never gonna want to play your concerto without vibrato. And if you're playing it in slow tempo without vibrato and the intonation is correct, like what are you gonna do? It's like a completely different feeling when you play it with vibrato. It feels different. Vibrato also helps your intonation. I know it can cover up like discrepancies and stuff and mistakes when you're playing, but it also really helps because it loosens up your hand frame and helps you shift from place to place. So yeah, that's a little tip. If you don't want to listen to that, you don't need to, but like as much as you can, try to incorporate vibrato no matter how you practice. I went on a rant. I'm like scared people are gonna attack me for that one, because people are always like, you need to practice your intonation without vibrato because your vibrato gets in the way of focusing on your intonation. So it's a little bit of a tough one. The last aspect that I kind of want to touch on is practicing your vibrato. I think this is kind of related to the last one, but always practice your vibrato when you're playing your warm-ups, because it's going to help you warm up your fingers too, because of loosening your hand frame, relaxing your fingers. That's going to help, but also it's going to help you incorporate your vibrato in a lot of different aspects, but also it's going to help improve your vibrato quality, because rather than having to play all of these like concertos with your vibrato where you have to focus on the technique, you have to focus on the bow articulation, you have to focus on the notes, you have to focus on so many different things. When you're playing scales or like arpeggios, you don't really have to focus so much on the notes because you have them right inside your head. When you play scales, just take it slowly and practice your vibrato. I've been doing this for a year now and my vibrato is a lot better. I'm able to connect the notes a lot better with my vibrato. This is a great opportunity to start working on your consistent vibrato, especially because in scales, the notes are all like constantly next to each other. It's easier to like connect notes that are like whole steps or like half steps. Sort of in that kind of manner. I think scales are a really good, useful thing to take advantage of because you can experiment a lot with scales, with bow articulations, with bow technique, with posture, with vibrato, with all of these, with shifting, all of these things. You can incorporate it to improve your technique in scales. So it's a really useful thing to like keep in mind of. I really don't know if this helped at all. I feel like it's just me like rambling on and on. It's okay if you feel like you're not getting anywhere in the first like couple of weeks when you study vibrato because it's a long process. It's a whole new concept and it's like way different from anything you've ever learned before. So it's normal to take a long time and it's okay that it's difficult because it is a difficult technique. So don't get discouraged because totally normal. It took me half a year to like learn vibrato and I'm still learning aspects of vibrato like even now, like 4 years after I learned vibrato. So you're always constantly learning. Vibrato is like different for everyone, you know? So don't take anything I said to heart or like too seriously because yeah, whatever produces the best sound for you is what's right. I'm nervous for some reason. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be making a couple more of these, so watch out for those. Bye bye. Thank you.